Hey you. Yeah you. Do you hate dying? Say goodbye to squishiness and hello to surviving to level 100 with this tankier alternative to Lightning Arrow Deadeye. With a higher DPS ceiling than Lightning Arrow and tankier, with Ellie hit champion you'll be blasting. Subscribe, like, and comment, and I'll throw in a free Deadeye POB of Ellie hit for you softcore gamers for free. Call now and start blasting maps. Disclaimer, I am not responsible for any repetitive strain injuries, loss of divines, annoyance at weapon swapping, or skill issues. Main offensive mechanics. Ellie hit gives 15% more damage per ailment on the enemy. This build uses Secrets of Suffering to get as many ailments as possible. Secrets of Suffering turns our chill / shock / ignite into the alternate ailments Brittle, Sap, and Scorch. This allows us to easily hit crit cap with Brittle, extra survivability with Sap, and more damage with Scorch. So with these three elements, the build gets 45% more damage just from on the gem, not even including the bonus damage from the elements themselves. However, then we also add Skitterbots, which then allows us to shock and chill even though we've converted our ailments. Skitterbots is not the character, so Secrets of Suffering doesn't impact it, so then we get 5 ailments on the enemy for a total of 75% more damage, which is pretty crazy. Then on top of this, we use Yoke of Suffering for more damage from elements, gives you an additional 50% more. Weapon swap, Corrupting Fever Life Tap to trigger Adrenaline. Perseverance for big damage scaling with armor and evasion. Artillery Ballista for extra single target DPS. You can also do a Mana Forge setup if you're lazy. Main defensive mechanics. Fortify for 20% less damage taken. Grace Determination for big armor evasion. Spell Suppression. High uptime Enduring Cry for endurance charges. Sap makes enemies deal less damage. Adrenaline gives us 10% fizz reduction. And then finally top that off with a Molten Shell. Alright, it's usually a finicky subject, giving like a total budget for the build because people are bad at trading and people don't do crafting and prices will vary based on your skill in the game, but I'm just going to do a quick one for the people who do appreciate it and aren't going to cry that it's not exactly what you get, but can understand that it's a general estimate, right? So I just looked up a bunch of stuff in softcore that is similar to the gear on my character. So we got, I'm just gonna say 10D for a bow. These are kind of expensive. This, you should really grave craft this. It will cost you 3D or less for sure to just make a fractured chest like this and then slap a essence for res or something on it. Here we got rings that are kind of similar. This is also something you should probably be grave crafting, but if you don't, it'll be about 3D. Yoke looks about 30C. Quiver, like 2 to 4D. Gloves, around like 1 divine. Boots, also around 1 divine, 1 to 2 divines. Interrogation for Secrets of Suffering, around a divine. His Fate, obviously a higher rolled one will be more expensive, capping out at 1D. Ancestral Vision, around 70C. Lethal Pride, you can probably get a good one for like 70C to 1D. You have a lot more options in softcore than I do in hardcore, so you can get a pretty good Lethal Pride actually if you're too poor. For the big one, this is the most expensive one, will be a large Thread of Hope, especially if you want a good elemental res, but I'm not even using this. I'm using a Lethal Pride. It's very nice early. So yeah, this will be the most expensive thing, at least on like a low budget. Yeah, you can get a very nice Lethal Pride in softcore, so I recommend doing that if you don't have money to spend. Alright, so the total price of me looking up similar items to what my character is actually wearing in softcore ended up being around 25D. You can certainly go a lot lower than 25 divines, but that's just what my character's wearing. That's what I hit level 100 with. You could go as far as League starting this build. Honestly, it's not going to be super good. I mean, honestly, I don't think League starting any bow build is super good. I mean, it is for mapping. It's fine, but your damage will be pretty low on a lower budget. It's certainly enough to blast maps. I built this character up basically from scratch, starting essentially at a League start state. So it's certainly doable, but highly recommend going in with at least a budget of around 25 to 30 div to just make it smooth right away. Alright, so in the PoB, got some leveling trees, got the full endgame tree, got a deadeye tree. I don't have a full deadeye leveling tree, but it'll be very similar. So here's level 32, just go up through here, grab this stuff, go over there. 54, come up here. Level 71, come over here. At level 88, when you get your Uber Lab is when we're gonna swap over to crit based. That's when it'll make sense to. Before you do that, these ones, you're gonna be going precise technique. It's gonna be better than crit early, you just don't get enough crit stuff early on, right? So it'll end up being more damage, and then once you swap to crit, make sure you take this off. Then you start picking up crit nodes, stuff like that. Start taking more crit stuff, you might start using Assassin's Mark, whatever, blah blah blah, get your crit up anywhere you can. Level 95 without a threat of hope. So this is what the budget tree will look like if you're like on a strict budget. This is what your tree will look like with the threat of hope. In terms of mods, I did not have the Lethal Pride here set up for good mods. Things you're gonna look for are things like Fizz taken as fire damage, double damage, like maybe increased armor, reduced crit damage that you take is good. Yeah. So basically anything you can get that affects the build is pretty solid. You have a lot of good nodes here for it. It touches a lot of good nodes. And then if you aren't going to use one and you are going to dole out the extra cash for a Thread of Hope, here's the level 95 tree for that. Going Thread of Hope does allow us to pick up some more crit stuff earlier since it saves us so many passive points. So you can see here with it, we end up grabbing the Lionized Fall here and taking these. Full endgame tree is what it looks like. And yeah, it's leveling in the tree.